Hello, everyone, and welcome to BMC Helix Live, our special mini podcast series recorded from the BMC Helix Roadshows as we travel the globe with our No Limits tour. I'm your host, Samantha Hudson dos Santos Figueira, and today I'm delighted to be joined by not one but two fantastic guests. First is Alex, who leads our BMC Helix across the ANZ region, and then we've also got John from our solutions marketing team, who will introduce themselves shortly. Together, we'll be talking about service ops, customer transformation journeys, what's changing across the industry, and of course, we'll also be showcasing what's at the Sydney Roadshow. Alex and John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sam. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Looking forward to a good conversation.
So let's get started with some introductions. So Alex, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your role at Helix, and also what keeps you busy?
Yes, well, as you said, I'm the leader of the BMC Helix go-to-market here in Australia and New Zealand. So I spend my days helping our teams, our customers, look at new ways of using technology to accelerate service management, which really is the core and the heart of what BMC Helix is all about.
And John, let's go over to you now. So tell us about your role, solutions marketing, and obviously it sits in a unique position between product, customers, and the market.
Yeah, it's a fantastic job. It's an interesting one because I would draw a distinction between product marketing and solution marketing. Product marketing tends to talk about features and products in a fairly direct way. Solution marketing is really more concerned about our customers and their real world challenges and how we align our solutions to them. So it's a communication job. I found my way into it from product management, and it's a very similar kind of thing. It's like being the voice of the customer and also the explainer to the market and the customers how we solve problems.
Excellent. And I know as a former product management person, we've worked together a lot. You still get to do a bit of that as well.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm going to move on to service ops and customer transformation. This is where we're going to start. So the question will go back to yourself, John. The biggest topic and conversation in the market today is obviously AI. How is AI impacting the field of service management?
So AI is huge in service management, and I think it almost needs a bit of deconstructive thinking because AI can break ITSM's old serial model. And what I mean by the serial model is thinking about queues, thinking about sequential work. We work on one ticket at a time. We work on one change request at a time. AI lets us be much more parallel. It lets us be more proactive. And it does interesting things, for example, with knowledge management. We've always written articles and sought out articles because articles are something that as humans we understand. AI doesn't care. AI just gathers the information that gets gathered as we work, and it can serve it up to us in the right answer for the right question. So for me, AI's real value in ITSM is not just the obvious stuff. It's not just summarizing tickets or using machine learning to assign things to the right place. And believe me, those are valuable. But it's the agents that actually action things. In our case, agentic AI includes agents like Service Collaborator and Change Coordinator, which are real expert level agents that embed themselves in service management, working alongside those human experts. So that's one thing that's changing. How else is AI impacting service management? Well, there's a broader problem in the marketplace with AI, which is that we've gone beyond the prototype phase, and deploying AI agents just isn't enough anymore. We've probably all seen stories in the news about perceived high failure rates and perceived cost of AI. And so we have to prove the value as well. And I know Alex will be covering that. Finally, I think AI and ITSM is exposing bad data. So a lot of companies have sort of got by with the data they have in places like the CMDB, but you can't really get by with AI because it cruelly exposes those issues. So for us, it's impacting in many ways. It's letting people be far more productive. It's letting them do incredibly parallelized work, which gets them doing more, achieving more. But it's also exposing if some of those underlying practices aren't working properly.
I know we've definitely got some exciting times ahead of us with AI. So very valid points that you made there. Alex, I'm going to come over to you. What does this mean from a business perspective?
Yeah, good question. I think one of the things that we're hearing in the marketplace, particularly from business, is there's a little bit of a disconnect from the hype in the market about what AI is and what it actually translates to inside of a business. And when you start thinking about enterprise service management, it's that old, adage where, people are so used to technology being present. So they hear about ChatGPT, they hear about, Anthropic, they're talking Claude, they're talking Gemini. But businesses really have to start making decisions about which is the right tooling for them. Because many of the tools are really doing the same things. And how do you apply the right tool in the right business case, in the right instance? I think one of the biggest things that you start to realize as you're talking to more and more businesses is that, the data, as John pointed out, is key to all of this. There's no point in rolling out AI for the sake of AI because you're really just automating not much. So if your data's not correct and your systems can't make the right decisions, then there's a real gap there. And it's quite interesting. I draw the parallels. You almost have to productize AI. And that gives rise to a question, and everyone talked about the SaaS apocalypse coming. But I think the deployment of AI inside of SaaS applications is what we're starting to learn is something that businesses are really looking for us to lead the charge in. And so when you start thinking about, how AI works, it works best in an application that has context, best in an application that has guardrails and structure and governance, and quite strangely, and in a fantastic way for us, that's inside of applications that are mature, products that have had 30 years worth of development, structure and expertise put into them. And AI is enhancing the capabilities and giving structured, secure orchestration. And that is the real thing that we're learning in the market is that businesses are actually looking to us to guide them on how to do this the right way. And if your data is not correct, and if your structures are not in place, and if your governance is not in place, just using AI for AI's sake isn't going to work. So for businesses and business perspective, it's like, I'm going to use AI with context, and that just fits inside of SaaS applications. And enterprise service management is really where you can find that and really find that niche and structure for a customer. And that's what we're hearing in the market today.
And I'd note that data being such an important part of this, one of the things we do see is dialogue in the sector, which actually frustrates me a little because sometimes people are just being told, you've just got to fix your CMDB and your knowledge base, and then AI can really work for you. And I've seen that in vendor conferences elsewhere where people have stood on stage and said, hey, it took us 2 years to fix our data and then AI started to work. Well, we don't have 2 years in the industry anymore because AI is here. And those, as I said before, those places that have managed with imperfect data aren't really in the great position. But the problem is, just being told, just fix it, that's not realistic without the appropriate help. It was hard enough to do effective configuration management with manual process when things were much simpler, when a business service was working on a simple stack of physical servers. Nowadays, things are much more complicated, they're much more interconnected. And so it's not something that you can catch up with just fix it. Hey, just get your team to do better. You do need technology to help manage and maintain that data layer. You still need to have good people, but they need to have great technology. So I will say, from a business perspective, one of the good pieces of news is we saw this coming five or more years ago. We've been using large language models in our product since before the dawn of ChatGPT, and we've been focused very heavily on that AI-assisted data layer underneath. We doubled down on that years ago. So that gives us the best foundation for AI. And it also means it reduces the need to rip and replace existing tools. What we provide is the best discovery, the best data ingestion, that dynamic service modeling, and it directly underpins ITSM, it underpins operations management to give you that full service ops picture. But importantly, because that's what we do, you're not having to tell teams to somehow work a miracle. A lot of places haven't fixed this problem in decades, so why they were suddenly expected to fix it now with too much manual process, that's what frustrates me. What we are providing is something that gives you that data. It gives you value straight away. You don't have to spend months manually mapping services just to get going. And that really is critical to achieving business and technology success with AI.
And I think just to piggyback on that, customers are going to pick the AI and the large language model that best fits their purposes. They're going to invest in Claude, in Gemini, in ChatGPT, OpenAI. They really want to spend their money where they're going to get the best value. And one of the things that customers are saying to us about our approach of being agnostic with regard to which LLM provider that you use and where the tokens they spend their money on are actually going to come from. That's a strategy that they're loving from us. Our agents will allow you to deploy your own LLM, will help you train it on models that we've been working on for, almost half a decade, as John pointed out. And the value there is that you always own the data. You always are in control of your own destiny. And all we're doing is using our agentic capability to exploit that data model, to exploit that rich vein of information that you have, and you stay independent. The data is always yours. The model is always yours. So, that's really resonating in the marketplace. Spend the money on your own tokens, decide which AI is right for you, and then deploy that within our architecture.
Fantastic. Thank you both for your deep insights. Very helpful. Actually, going on to customer perspectives now. So without naming any names, are there any customer success stories or common patterns that you've seen that really demonstrate the value of this approach?
Yeah, and if we look at ESM in particular, there's a few success stories, but there's a couple that really resonate for me, and they hone in specifically on where AI adds immediate value to anyone, in our ecosystem or in prospective ecosystems. They can have other service management tools, the ServiceNows, the Ivantis, as well as Helix, and we're adding value across the top of all of those applications today. What we're seeing in the marketplace is we have customers who have lots and lots of blind spots, big blind spots between typically, managed service providers or multiple managed service providers who are managing different sections of their business. And there's no visibility between one or the other. What that ends up happening is there's a lot of swivel chair between service agents. There's a lot of misdiagnosis of what's going on inside of the businesses. What we're able to do is using our agents is actually grab all of the information that's coming out of these amazing observability and monitoring tools that are in market that they have. Customers are not having to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and we're ingesting all of that information. And we're using our agents, of course, training the LLMs that the customers provide to actually diagnose all of their applications and understand exactly what's happening inside of their topology so that we can give that evidence-based root cause information directly to the service agent where it makes sense. We're enriching other applications upstream and downstream, and in doing so, we're giving customers some freedom. We're allowing them to minimize their exposure on managed service contracts and really reduce the bill to cost of serve. We're able to reduce time to resolution significantly. And of course, we're building, as John mentioned, this enormous catalog of knowledge, because AI is creating it every time we solve something, every time we provide a root cause, every time we create a pattern, we're actually creating a knowledge base. And we're making that available in real time to customers inside the service management tool of their choice by giving that as ingestion, or in Helix as we bring that across the top as a layer. And that effectively is cutting out the middleman, if you like. And it's giving AI agentic capability at the fingertips so that people can make decisions in self-service, at the swivel desk in service management, as well as at executive level, because they know exactly what's going on, what's the cause of things, and how to apply risk and risk management and risk mitigation across the top. So all layers of a business are really being approached, so and managed for and catered for. So, our customers are seeing those results. Silos are being broken down, information is being generated as well as used to create and deflect, and customers are reducing risk. And they're the key points that we're seeing in the marketplace. And our customers, and we have real live customers that are having this success, are actually, finding that the use of the BMC Helix tools is providing the best use of agentic AI for real problem resolution in real time on real data.
Thank you for putting that context out there for our listeners today. Really great insights again. Moving on to my favourite subject, which is the Sydney Roadshow, and it's obviously mainly why we're here today. We have an amazing event coming up on August the 6th. I know we will be coming from Singapore, which is a few days earlier. So the 6th is what we've aligned for Sydney. Can you give some highlights for the customers and partners and what they can look forward to, Alex?
Yeah, we've got some amazing presenters coming on the day. I think there's a couple of highlights that I want to bring up. The first one is we've got our CRO, Jeff Hardy, coming down to really talk about, our positioning in market and, the theory that underpins exactly why we've gone to market, what Helix represents in the market, and the value that we can actually drive in this changing environment. And, the conversation is all about the change in the economics of IT and what that means for enterprise service management. And I think that just really sets the tone for the day. One of the sessions that I'm super excited about is we've got a futurist who's coming in to talk to us about AI adoption and what the missing gap really is in customers and in projects out in the marketplace. And his speech is actually called the 5% rule. And basically, it's a proven methodology and it's underpinned by research in the market. Only 5% of projects today in AI and agentic rollouts actually succeed and deliver tangible return on investment. That means 95% of projects fail. And he's going to give us some insights into what that 95% represents, and more importantly, how the 5% actually do it, and what boards, what businesses and people on the ground need to do to actually achieve outcomes with AI across the top of their enterprise service management stack. And I think that's just all topped off by an amazing session, hands-on session that we'll have for all our customers and partners, really getting into the tooling and understanding the magic that agentic AI and vibe coding can bring to a service desk and to enterprise service management. So I think jam-packed day, but those are the three key highlights for me.
Excellent. And John, did you want to add anything?
So, and those labs are great. There are opportunities to get really hands-on with those AI tools, and as Alex said, that includes being able to vibe code entire service and operations management interfaces and solutions, but using that amazing Helix data layer, that really big sort of digital twin of your live service environment, being able to build tools on top of those. So what I always like about this, it's not just the obvious stuff. Everyone will, a lot of the time what comes to mind for people is, as I said, summarizing tickets or chatbots for service. And there's a lot of value in those things. But I'm an ITSM practitioner. This is coming into my third decade in ITSM now in my career. So seeing these things that work with change management teams, for example, with those ITSM professionals who are behind the scenes delivering huge value, and the way we can enable change teams to drive much faster innovation in the organization, because they can do more at once and with a much better and richer set of data, or problem teams or response teams who are pulling together multiple people together to resolve a major incident and get causal insights in real time and be able to really drive that to a much better resolution. Those are the things that really excite me. So those are the things you'll be able to get hands-on with at those labs.
Excellent. So really the message to the listeners out there is get yourself in person and come and meet with us at Sydney, of course. So obviously both of you know I host a lot of webinars throughout the year, and as a company we do a lot of digital events, but naturally roadshows have a different type of energy. So how do these events help you connect with the customers in ways that other formats simply wouldn't? Alex, over to you first.
Yeah, I think, look, you hit the nail on the head. It's that human connectivity, that human touch. But you can come and hear real stories, real experiences, and practical understanding of how people achieve outcomes. It's one thing to be demonstrated to, but to actually hear from customers and hear their personal journeys and experiences in turning what is essentially a product into a solution. That's the real value that we get there, and that's where these anecdotes that I mentioned before about, how the application of technology really helps a business. So people who come along, they'll be able to really hear from experts plying the trade and actually achieving real live outcomes through technology. So that's the big thing for me is, real stories, real humans behind those, and real connection. I think, in this day and age, we're talking about agents, agentic AI, and we're talking about, some concepts that seem really disconnected, and you hear all the time, AI is going to take over the world. Well, here is AI bringing the world together. And I think that's what the Roadshow gives for us. And it's an opportunity for people to really meet and create human connections again.
100% agree. And John, over to you. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, these roadshows, I love them because one of the things I love about them is they're just a great size. There's plenty of people there. You do get to meet a lot of fellow professionals from the service and operations management field, and I know, like I say, I've been in this sector a long time. I know that's always a great thing when you see some familiar faces, you meet some new faces, but importantly as well, these are quite intimate sessions for all of us, for the customers attending and for the and partners and for the Helix staff members there. There's a lot of chance to have conversations. We're not just talking at you from the podium for the whole session. There's a lot of interaction, a lot of chance to get hands-on. You can meet Helix executives, you can meet product teams, and of course meet your peers in the industry. And so they're just a great format and a really good opportunity to learn from each other.
Excellent. And before we wrap up, I would like to ask each of you one final question. If there was one message you'd like every customer and listener to leave with today, what would it be? Alex, to you first.
Yeah, look, AI brings change, and change in software models, capability, what you can and can't do and what you should expect, particularly in enterprise service management. And I want to say to people out there in the marketplace, there are alternatives to applications like ServiceNow. There is a different way of working, a non-restrictive, open, easier way of working today to achieve enterprise service management outcomes and results. Come along to the day, get to know the people, get to know the technology, get to understand that you can make a choice and make a difference. And we're out there every day, pushing the Helix message. But at the end of the day, it's about technology and giving people optionality and capability that helps them do their job the best. So come on down, come and see what's possible. Open up your eyes, open up to the new world and a new way of working, and have some fun.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, so I think my message would be that AI is going to make service management amazing, but it's not going to get you there quickly if you're stuck depending on manually fixing that suboptimal underpinning of data. That is a trap that is literally costing companies years, and there are companies going on stage at other vendors' conferences happily saying, hey, this took us 2 years. What you need to look for is wins, and the wins come from service ops. Aligning ITSM and operations together right away, making sure there's a really great data layer underneath that's fed with great discovery and automated modeling. So you're not out of the loop as humans, but you're controlling something that's delivering rapid data and therefore rapid wins, instead of this big cost spiral and immaturity spiral that traps people in these big monolithic applications. You don't have to pay the big upsell rates of tools that are not fixing that problem. You can move quickly with Helix, and that gives you a much faster, open, we call it you could call it an anti-platform approach. So you've got the guardrails, you've got the data, you can just start to innovate. You can take all those things that you've wanted to do for years around change management or optimizing help desk services or delivering better self-service, drive them with AI, get them going quickly, immediately prove that value, because the other thing we're adding is we're giving you the proof. We're showing you dashboards with detail on what you're achieving versus what's being consumed, so that you can go up to your manager or their manager or right up to the board and say, look, we are delivering with AI. So that's going to be a great conversation. I can't wait to show you those things. It's where to start, how to get there quickly, and what it looks like with Helix.
Excellent. Alex, John, thank you very much for joining me today. And thank you to everyone that's been listening to BMC Helix Live. If you're attending one of our No Limits Roadshows, then obviously come and say hello. In particular, we're talking about Sydney, so we'll hope to see some of you on the 6th. We'd love to meet you in person, hear about your transformation journey, and of course, show you what's new across the BMC Helix platform. Until next time, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of BMC Helix Live.